Welcome, everyone, to the Service Lounge. I am your host, Brandon Nixon, and with me today, I have Zabrina Ziemba with us. Zabrina, welcome to the Service Lounge. Excited to
Yeah,
have you on here.
glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, for everybody listening on, I just wanted to, before we dive in, I just want to say a big thank you for all the support we've been getting. The last few episodes have gotten a lot of good feedback, and really excited to have Sabrina on today to really get some good insight of your role, your background in automotive. So for those who are listening on, Sabrina, do you mind jumping in, just, introducing yourself? What are you doing today? Where did you start in the industry? And yeah, pretty much just give a little background on yourself.
Sure. Yeah, I started in a sales BDC with no intention of actually being in the automotive industry. I was going to school to be a teacher,
I
and
love it.
I ended up realizing that I could quadruple my teacher's salary in the automotive industry. So I stuck with it. But started in sales BDC just as a rep, and then moved my way up to internet manager from there. Started taking on some marketing roles, and now I am the internet director and marketing director at a Buick GMC store. And then I also have my own freelance marketing agency on the side.
Awesome, awesome. I was
Yeah,
just about to ask that. So you started up the Zimba Collective. When
I
did you
did.
get that started? How long ago did that get started?
Oh, it's been about just under a year, actually, almost 11 months now.
Love it, love it. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So with your current role as, business development and marketing director, where are you seeing the industry at today? There's been a lot of chaos going on this last year. I just was talking with our last guest on it.
Yeah.
But, how has your dealership been affected with, everything going on in the news, the change of administration? Do you see things that are getting better, they're getting a little rougher? Where are things in your neck of the woods?
Well, I don't think you're ever going to avoid that roller coaster. So you're going to have your panic months all the
Yep.
time, especially in sales. But when you're looking at trying to focus on, especially with everybody freaking out about sorry, you're going to hear my son in the background.
You're good.
But is the everybody getting nervous about tariffs and about the EV credits changing. There is a little bit of panic for sure. So you have a lot of uneasiness on when the best time to buy is.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about it is there's always a way to counter it. So we are lucky enough with being a part of GM that they're focusing on doing everything they can to make sure that our consumers don't feel a big hit,
Yeah.
that we're not focusing on how the tariffs are really going to affect our pricing because GM's not going to let it happen. They're really making sure that everything is staying affordable. We're not going to see a spike in MSRP. We're not going to see a huge spike in pricing in parts and service. So it really was reassuring for us, and we're able to pass that on to our consumers and make sure that they understand we're doing everything we can at GM to make sure that it's not a worry.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's good to hear, especially from the OEMs. We've seen different approaches, I guess is the best way to put
Yeah.
it, on this whole situation. You see different things with like Ford, GM, Toyota, it's interesting because you think like the industry as a whole would take like one stance, but it's
Sure.
not the case, right? Everybody handles everything differently. And the industry is also in a little bit of an unknown because things are changing daily, right? But I love
Mhm.
what you said is when it comes to automotive, you always have to be prepared for change because there's
Yes.
never going to be a single day that's going to be the same. Absolutely. So, have you seen as customers are, calling in, are the questions around that, like tariffs and stuff like that, are they more prevalent? Are they coming up often? Or do you think customers are just understanding the lay of the land and they're just going about normal business?
It really depends on the customer. So you have, and I'm sure you guys know this, have multiple different avenues when it comes to what customer you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And you have customers that are familiar with kind of what's going on, and they will raise the question on if it's affecting our pricing or what's going on. And
Yeah.
then they're pretty satisfied with just a basic answer of, no, we're going to make sure we take care of you.
Yeah.
Um, and then you move to typically your EV customer who is a massive researcher, just genetically.
hmm
But your typical EV customer is going to focus on they've done all their research. They know that that the tariff issue is affecting, even if it's slightly, the automotive industry, and they're focusing on how their bigger question is more the EV rebates. So we don't get a lot of tariffs right now, but it comes up occasionally. So it's not super prevalent, but there.
Yeah, I bet. So, with your role, and especially with your marketing agency that you
Yeah.
have going on, where do you think dealers are missing the mark around brand? We've been talking consistently on that. Like, it's not just, especially nowadays, it's not just because you sell the car that they're looking to buy that they're willing to do business with you. You
Right.
really have to build the brand at the dealership. So, what are some strategies that you've put in place, either at your current store or maybe when you're working with others as well?
So consistently, you have to make sure that you build a relationship with your community. That's been a huge thing across the board with every brand. And specifically at the store that I'm at now, they were focused on get them in, sell the car. That's what they knew. They were
Yep.
that was their habitual mantra is get them in, sell the car. It really is. You have to give your customer a feel good environment. They have to see you out in the community. They have to make sure that you are taking care of not just them during their purchase, but you're going to focus on taking care of their needs all around. You're taking care of their home. You're taking care of their service needs. They can trust you.
Yeah.
You're a comfortable place and you're a familiar face. So it's huge with consumers nowadays. It's not just I want to go in, buy a car and be done. It's I want to see what you're doing for the community. I want to see how you're giving back. I want to see how comfortable and how trustworthy it is for me to consistently deal with you on a daily basis. So it's been
Now,
huge.
now I'm sure you've worked with, variety, as you explained, from, either different dealerships and different
Yeah.
positions. Have you always been, with dealers that are willing to invest in their community like that? Is it more of a mindset that you have to get them on? How's that happen?
It has definitely varied over my experience with different dealers. So, currently, it has definitely been a mindset realignment for the owner and the GSM, making sure that they understand that we do need to participate in giving back to our community. We need to go to we need to the breast cancer walk. We need to donate
Yeah.
to the local shelters and make sure that we're out there helping with community cleanups. So it's huge, and I'm not gonna say that it's not a struggle if they're not used to it. It definitely
Yeah.
is, making sure that they can realign that and understand that it helps with building your brand as a dealer, not just GMC or Buick. It helps build your name and make sure that you have a trustworthy reputation behind you because we've been fighting for decades in the car business to get rid of the old car dog
Yep.
bad reputation where they're going to throw your keys up on the top of the roof when they evaluate your trade.
Yep. Well, I think too, I've seen that consistently with stores that, like you said, it definitely is like a mindset shift where, like, if
Yeah.
they're not currently operating in that, they're viewing it more as an expense than
Mhm.
more as like an area for you to build trust and gain more customers, right? From a
Right.
marketing perspective, nothing's more powerful than, a customer who's not really looking to buy a car, but sees you are contributing to the community and goes, you know what, now when I am in that position, yeah, those people participate in things that I care for. So
Mhm.
I'm definitely going to start, speaking with that dealer, or at least give that dealership the first opportunity there for sure. Now,
Absolutely.
have you seen, tying back into service, as you know, here with Update Promise and what we're doing with the service lounge, it's all around the fixed operations side of the business. How have you approached, bridging that gap between service and sales and, using it in a way for long-term retention there?
So when you're looking at service in general, it is probably every single dealer I've ever been at is their biggest opportunity for improvement because um, you have to have the that kind of go-getter attitude to be able to approach somebody who is in for an oil change or they hear a knocking in the engine and they don't know what's going on. You have to be able to strike up a conversation with them and realize that they may have a huge RO and they can use half that as a down payment instead. It may be an immediate turnaround, or it could be
Yeah.
something that builds a sale and a relationship for years to come. You could have one next year. You could help them with their daughter's car. You could help them with their grandmother's car, whatever it may
Yeah.
be. But focusing on that crossover is huge because you can generate the relationship to potentially build a sale, and then you can also focus on a lot of mining in the service drive, focusing on the warranty aspect of everything.
Yeah.
Is their vehicle still under warranty? Do we need to get them talking to finance? Are they in a lease? And did we check their odometer? Is their mileage about to expire? Do I need to pull them out early? So there's a lot of information there that goes above and beyond just, oh, your car is definitely going to need a new transmission. Let's pull you out of it now. So it
Yeah.
goes way beyond that.
Well, I agree with you because when you just take that last approach that you just explained, you're taking the the personability out of it, right? Your care
Mhm.
out of it. It's more just like, oh, here, dollar for dollar, let's just move things around for you. You know, you're about
Right.
to spend a lot of money, let's just go spend it over here. But if you're, taking it as an approach, especially I always say training service advisors, whenever that sort of situation happens, it's like, okay, we're talking about reliability, right?
Yeah.
Asking maybe what is that customer's personal goals so that you can line up, like, does it truly make sense for you to go through and, replace the transmission right now? Or does it make sense based off how much you're going to spend over, the next 3 years and whatever you have to move into a new vehicle, right?
Right.
But when you walk
Exactly.
the customer through that experience, it's a lot more care than just going like, hey, maybe you should just look at a new car, right?
Right.
And we see that time and time again. I feel like dealers just fail at training their team on how to properly handle those conversations, right?
Yeah, 100%. And if you have the training in place consistently and you get somebody just comfortable with having a personable conversation, it's gonna be a huge game changer, especially on the service drive,
Yeah.
because you have people there. I mean, for an oil change, you have so many people that will just wait there for 45 minutes to an hour and a half, and they're sitting there watching HGTV when you could
Yeah.
be just chit-chatting with them and talking about, "What's going on? What are you here for?
Yeah.
How can I help you? Like, what's the deal?" And just striking up that conversation, not only are they gonna focus on, maybe I could get into a new car, or just being able to reflect back on the conversation and know that they have somebody who's nice and comfortable to speak with
Yeah.
in a very intimidating environment.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I've always said that's a fine line to ride, right?
mhm,
You're going to have that customer who's sitting in the waiting room that is there to just get their car serviced, and they don't want
mhm,
anybody coming up to them, right? So you got to read the room, right? You can't
right.
stick someone out there to go do that job, and you just are just socially unaware and don't know how to adapt to those conversations or what that customer is going through. I kid you not, I've seen at a dealer where a customer literally had their kid was bothering them. They were in a bad situation. The kid was acting bad. And you've
Yeah.
got a salesman who's like, hey, can I speak with you about your equity in your car? And she's like,
Like,
no, I'm
no,
over
I'd
here.
rather punch you in the
I need my
face.
oil
Just like,
change
yeah.
done, right? So I can get the heck out of here and don't talk to me about trying to get a new car, right? So reading that room is definitely important.
Exactly. 100%.
So, where have you seen over the last, I'd say 6 months, what are dealers missing? Like, where are they missing the mark? What's the opportunity that they really should be focusing on coming into the new year coming up?
So I think that we've seen a huge shift from the COVID market into what we're seeing now. So in COVID, everybody was used to, there's no inventory and you just sell what you have.
Yeah.
Now we do have to work a little bit harder for a sale. We have to work a little bit harder for that larger RO. We have to make sure that we're understanding that this is like the 2010 auto market,
Yeah.
not the 2020 auto market.
You actually have
um,
to sell. You
yes.
can't just sit back and go, yeah, here's my next order. I agree with you there.
Exactly, exactly. So it's having that customer service base has been a huge miss across the board with a lot of dealers that I've worked with, because they're so used to, well, this is what we have, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
And that's not the case anymore. It's someone wants what they want. Our customers want what they want. They want the service that comes along with it. And it doesn't matter if you're selling a $5,000 car or a $250,000 car. You need to have a top tier customer service experience across the board and make
Yep.
sure that you are giving that luxury service, that you have the little things that people look for. I don't know what it is about the service lounge and their snacks, but if you have quality snacks in the service lounge and solid coffee, you can pretty much get a solid review across the board in service and sales. And it's little things like that you have to pay attention to. So heading back to a customer service base and not just pushing the sale and trying to force somebody into something they don't want. You have to have that long-term investment in it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you mentioned a good thing, especially like in the waiting room, in the service lounge, and it
Mhm.
could just be down to the snacks or the
Yeah.
popcorn or the coffee that you have in there that changes that customer's experience to the
Mhm.
point where I'll share some insight. We work with, 9 OEMs today where we have a new 10th one releasing at the beginning of the year. And I will tell you, probably 70% of them are requiring that when we show a scheduler on the website or we text message the customer about their appointment confirmations, that we're mentioning the amenities that are being provided at the dealer because it's so important and it gets the
Yep.
customer more excited to show up, right? So if they're seeing that, then
Exactly.
they're getting the same data we are, that the waiting room and the service lounge there is really important to setting the tone at the store.
Yep.
That's great. So let me ask you, where do you see the industry shifting? I know we talked about now we got to get into more sales, but where do
Mhm.
you see the industry shifting in the next, 2, 3 years, not only on sales, but on service? What are some areas that you're seeing are truly areas we should be focusing on?
So I think that you're not only going to see a huge kind of circle back to customer service, but you're having a huge focus on digital retailing
Hmm.
and at home delivery. A lot of that is coming up across the board. It's something that's a requirement for a lot of OEMs now, and a lot of customers expect it. So they
Yeah.
expect the services that kind of surfaced in COVID, but they are starting to fall off.
Yeah.
And that kind of ties back into your customer service aspect, but you have to be willing to work a deal over the phone, work a deal over email. Service, you have to make sure that you're consistently communicating because you may never see somebody in house. You may have a shuttle service go drop a car off because they need a loaner and bring their car back to the dealership. And they won't
Yeah.
even set foot in the dealership, but they're still going to get a survey. They're still going to be rating your service.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that you're focusing on how the world is shifting. And it is 100% a less contact the better, a digital world, and everybody is settling into it, so you have to
Yeah.
focus on making sure that you can still have that customer service aspect but without having to see your customer face to face, which is difficult. It is.
It's difficult,
But
but I will
it's
say that the age ranges that we're now starting to see come into dealerships is
uh-huh.
shifting, right? You're
Oh
seeing
yeah.
a whole new generation where they're okay with things being a little bit more digital, right?
Hmm.
And I think that they'll be even more impressed when you're able to provide that human touch to it as well, right?
Yeah.
Because everything that they're engaging with is digital, no matter what industry they're going into, and they're used to that, right?
Yep.
So when they hear somebody care about them or ask a question in a way that sounds endearing and it's not like, hey, I'm just doing a business transaction with you, I think that really can start to shift the new generations on how they view car dealerships, right? It's
Oh,
like you said
absolutely.
earlier, we got to get rid of that stigma that like we're sleazy car salesmen and we don't care about, we're just going to
We're
sell as
not,
much as
I
we can in
promise.
service, right? So it's a constant battle we'll be fighting for many years as we,
Absolutely.
so what's interesting, so you started your own marketing agency and
I
started
did.
doing that. What got you wanting to move in that direction? Obviously, I'm sure there's financial areas, but like what
Yeah.
gets you excited about that, you know?
So I consistently, I'm really mostly self-taught when it comes to a lot of the aspects of digital marketing and social management that I take care
Hmm.
of. But I had so many dealerships that were reaching out to me while I was employed at a dealership as
Yeah.
a BDC manager and helping out with the marketing. It was just nobody else wanted to do it. So I had to throw myself into it and figure it out.
Yeah.
And I mean, don't even get me started on how nobody knew about what GA4 even was. And it's just I had so many people calling me asking me for help because they didn't know how to set up campaigns. They didn't know where they should invest their money.
Yeah.
And I saw a need and I decided I was going to fill it and make sure that as I'm building it that I can focus on building my future and hopefully get to the point where I can pull away from being in dealership so much and have a little bit more flexibility with my schedule.
Yeah, no, I love that. And we start to see that consistently that, the top performers like yourselves, when you start to execute in your day to day, right, it starts to create more and more opportunities, which I think is motivational for everybody else that's probably
Absolutely.
working alongside you and seeing you do that. You've got kids, you're juggling home life, you're juggling a different, business plus your current job. So I got to give it to you. That's impressive and it's
Thank you.
exciting and good to see that. So,
Thank you.
well, when you mentioned GA4, so I'm gonna jump into that
Yeah.
because I agree with you. Nobody talks about GA4 and it's well, I take it back. Everybody talks about GA4. Nobody has the knowledge of what they need to do properly with
Absolutely.
GA4. I think that's the better way to put it, right?
Uh-huh.
So what if, I don't give away your secret sauce, but what's like one main area that you see people are missing the mark on GA4 and getting involved there?
So really it just comes down to paying attention to your analytics. I mean, you can build any campaign you want. Google has gotten to the point where they will essentially build it for you if you just
Yeah,
put in a little bit of information. So it's they Google wants you to succeed. The more you succeed, the more money they make off of you. So
exactly.
it's, but using the resources at your disposal, making sure you're paying attention to the analytics and what they're telling you is a huge, huge missed mark because a lot of people don't dive into what that pretty little graph and pretty little map mean when they're
Hmm.
looking at it. They just see a green or a red arrow and they're either happy or upset and they don't know why.
Yep.
Yeah, having the building the knowledge behind what your analytics actually mean is a huge pain point for a lot of dealerships.
Well, I think when you start going down that road, to your point of watching the analytics, it's kind of like building on the story, right? I
Mhm.
agree with you. A lot of people will just go in and they'll invest, they'll put a campaign out, and then the only measurement that they'll have is like, did I sell cars? Did
Yeah.
I get leads off of it, or did I not? Right?
Uh-huh.
Which is the ultimate goal. So I do understand why they go that direction, but you're not going to hit the mark the first time, right?
No.
Nine times out of
Well,
10,
and
you're not
the
going.
the focus on hard leads too is something that is has to be a huge shift. A lot of people that are used to saying, "Okay, well, I ran this campaign, I got 50 leads off of it, but I spent $5,000, so it was crap."
Yeah.
But really what you have to focus on is, okay, yeah, you got 50 leads from Google, but you also had a massive increase in your web traffic directly to your site, and look at the increase in the actual leads that came from your dealer on site.
Yeah.
Look at the increase of everything that boosted around your entire inventory. Look at your Facebook leads. Look at all of the redirects that we had and
Yeah.
follow the path of your customer because you have even if you're looking at your home site, your OEM site, and then you have Auto Trader, Car Gurus, Cars.com, everybody else that
Yep.
wants a piece of the pie. There are going to be overlapping sites, but what you're doing is you're keeping your name and your inventory in front of your customer consistently, and you're pushing them further and further down the funnel. So, not just focusing on hard leads from one source, but focusing on the boosted traffic across the board. And even if you're just looking at impressions or cost per click or whatever you want to focus on, hard leads shouldn't be the top tier at this point because
Yeah.
there's so many people that will focus on just seeing your name. They know at this point, nobody's a dummy in the market.
Yeah.
They know if they're gonna put if you put your name, phone number, and email in, you are about to get 50 phone calls. You're gonna get blown up for about a month and a half. And and a lot of people want to avoid that. So they will. They'll see your ad, you'll see it you'll kind of see them hopping around different sites. They'll check out the inventory and they may just pop in.
Well,
And
I'd say that's majority of customers nowadays because you're
yeah.
right. People are not stupid, right? I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many times that like, great, I want to know more about this car, but I know if I click that, it's not like there could be somebody
Yeah.
who's calling me that's not does has no idea about this vehicle, right?
Uh-huh.
Like so, I've seen it too. Customers will show up, they'll take the ads and the things that you guys are putting out, and they'll, like you said, pop in and have that saved, but they never submit it online, right?
Nope.
So your work that you just did so hard, you know, it's paying off. You're just not seeing on the, like you said, the hard lead results there.
Yeah.
So that's good information. I love that. Well, I always ask this of all of our guests, and I'm going to ask this of you,
Uh-huh.
for someone who has gone through the ranks, worked your way up, like you said, never intended to be in automotive, which is pretty much happens to all of us, I like to say.
Yeah.
But, what's some word of advice for, I'd say, the younger generation who's trying to get in and, or maybe just is first starting in automotive, and what would you say your word of advice would be for them?
I'd say don't treat it just like your get in and get out hourly job. If you actually treat this as your own business, this is an industry that actually thrives on that, where you focus on taking your leads in and building your pipeline, maintaining it, and making
Yeah.
sure that you have that own little business within the dealership. That's going to lead to nothing but success.
I love it. It's all about self accountability. I say it
Yeah,
every single time, and I tell my team all the time as well. Nobody's in control of your future but yourself, right? Especially in
exactly.
automotive, because there's always an opportunity in the next role that you never thought was going to be, where you would be at, right? But
Yep.
just by working hard day in and day out, we have a saying in our family and in our business that if you focus on the money, you're never going to succeed. But if you
That's right.
focus on the outcome and the execution, the money will start chasing you. It absolutely will. And I feel like that's why we all stay in automotive is because we just work hard and we feel responsible for it. And the next thing you know, money comes and you're like, maybe I don't leave here, right?
Right?
Maybe I keep doing what I'm doing. Well, awesome. You've given some really good insight. I appreciate you jumping on, and we
Yeah,
wish you the best with your business venture. Let us know how we can help, and I'm sure people who are listening on will definitely want to learn a little bit more. So
yeah,
we'll put your
absolutely.
information as we go through and post this. So anybody who's listening on and wants to talk to Zabrina and get some more information, you definitely can reach out and speak with her. But thank you again, and really glad to have you on here. We'll have to have you on maybe in about 6 months or a year, see where you're at, and get check
Absolutely.
in.
Sounds good. Appreciate
Awesome. Well, have
it.
a great day, everybody. And thank you guys for jumping on the Service Lounge. If you guys don't already like, follow, subscribe so that you can get great content and hear from amazing leaders in the industry like Zabrina. So thanks so much and hope everybody has a great day.